Have you ever wondered why, in statistics, we take perfectly good, beautiful, standard normal variables and we literally square them? Like, what actually happens when we do that? And more importantly, why does doing something so weird unlock some of the absolutely most powerful hypothesis tests in all of data science?
Honestly, it's a super common student confusion. We spend all this time mastering that perfectly symmetrical bell curve, and then, boom, suddenly we're throwing squares into the mix and the whole shape completely changes. Well, today, we're going to clear up that confusion completely.
By the end of this explainer, you're going to completely master the foundational concept of the chi-square distribution. You'll understand the exact mathematical formula behind it, how to fluently read the notation, and you're going to learn the 5 essential rules that govern exactly how it behaves. Let's dive right in.
So let's start with the language of statistics, the notation. When you see a capital letter like X followed by that little tilde, you know that means is distributed as. Then you've got that distinct Greek letter chi squared. But look at that little subscript df. That is absolutely crucial. It stands for degrees of freedom, and degrees of freedom completely run the show here. A quick tip for you. The way you calculate those degrees of freedom depends entirely on how you're using the chi-square test. Sometimes it's just your sample size minus 1. For other tests, the formula shifts. But if you master the degrees of freedom, you literally hold the key to the whole distribution.
Now, let's move on to the formulas. And this perfectly illustrates why knowing your degrees of freedom is such a big deal. Take a look at the population mean, represented by the Greek letter mu. The mean of a chi-square distribution is exactly equal to its degrees of freedom. It's really that simple. If your degrees of freedom is 8, your mean is 8, period. Now, check out the standard deviation, represented by sigma. The formula is just the square root of 2 times the degrees of freedom. So, keeping with our example, if our degrees of freedom is 8, we multiply by 2 to get 16, the square root of 16 is 4, so boom, we immediately know our mean is 8 and our standard deviation is 4. It's beautifully straightforward once you see it.
But right about now, you might be asking, wait a second, what exactly makes up a chi-square variable from scratch? Sure, we know the notation and we know the formulas, but what is physically happening under the hood? Let's break open the mathematical engine.
Here is the absolute core definition. A chi-square variable with k degrees of freedom is quite simply the sum of k independent, squared, standard normal variables. Let me repeat that, because it's literally the secret to this whole concept. You take standard normal variables, your z-scores, you square them, and you just add them up. If you add up 5 of them, you've got a chi-square distribution with 5 degrees of freedom. Think of a standard normal variable like a single building block. Let's call it a standard brick. Step 1, you gather your independent bricks. Step 2, you square them, essentially transforming them into something new. And step 3, you stack them all together. When you add all those transformed bricks together, you've built a totally new structure. And that's your chi-square variable. And the total number of bricks you used, that is exactly your degrees of freedom. Section 1, the 5 essential facts and rules of the chi-square universe. Fact 1, the curve is non-symmetrical and skewed to the right. Remember that perfectly balanced standard normal bell curve we all love? Well, we basically left that in the dust the second we started squaring things. A chi-square curve has this long tail pulling way out to the right side. It's definitely not perfectly balanced on both sides of the peak. Fact 2, there's a different chi-square curve for every single degree of freedom. I actually like to think of the chi-square as a bit of a shapeshifter. It doesn't just have one static look. If you have, say, 2 degrees of freedom, the curve looks like a steep water slide. But if you have 10 degrees of freedom, it starts looking more like a lopsided hill. That df value completely dictates the exact shape of the curve you're dealing with. Okay, time for a quick retention check. Let's use some basic mathematical logic here. If a chi-square variable is made by constantly adding up squared numbers, can the final result ever be negative? Think about what always happens when you square a negative number.
The answer is no way. And that brings us straight to fact 3. The test statistic for any chi-square test is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. You are literally never going to calculate a negative chi-square value. Why? Because any number, whether it's positive or negative, becomes positive the moment you square it. So the whole distribution basically lives on the positive side of the number line, starting exactly at 0. So pro tip, if you're ever calculating a test and you get a chi-square value of -4, stop what you're doing immediately. You've definitely made a math error.
Moving on to fact 4, and honestly, this is where things get really fascinating. We just talked about how the curve is skewed to the right. But fact 4 tells us that when your degrees of freedom get larger than 90, the chi-square curve actually starts to approximate the normal distribution. As you add more and more of those squared variables, more of those building blocks we talked about, that long right tail gets pulled in, and the whole shape starts looking more and more like a symmetrical bell curve again. Let's make this super concrete with a quick math example. Let's say we're dealing with a chi-square distribution that has a massive 1,000 degrees of freedom. Now, 1,000 is obviously way bigger than 90, so we can totally use the normal approximation here. Remember the formulas we covered earlier? The mean is just the degrees of freedom, so our mean is 1,000. For the standard deviation, it's the square root of 2 times the degrees of freedom. So 2 times 1,000 is 2,000, and the square root of 2,000 is roughly 44.7. That means for this giant chi-square, we can basically treat it like a normal distribution with a mean of 1,000 and a standard deviation of 44.7. This is a massive lifesaver for calculating probabilities with really large datasets. All right, one final question before we hit our last rule. If your typical chi-square curve with a low degree of freedom is heavily skewed to the right, where does the mean actually sit? On a normal bell curve, we know the mean is dead center, right at the highest peak. But what about on this lopsided curve? And that leads us perfectly into fact 5. The mean is always located just to the right of the peak. Because that tail is stretched way out to the right side, those really high values in the tail actually pull the mathematical average away from the center. It's kind of like a seesaw. If you want to balance a seesaw that has a really long plank on one side, you have to move the balancing point, the fulcrum, slightly toward that longer side. That balancing point is our mean, sitting just a little bit to the right of the highest point on the curve. So before we wrap up, let's do a super quick summary of the key points we've conquered today. We know the notation completely relies on degrees of freedom. We know our formulas. The mean simply equals df, and standard deviation equals the square root of 2 times df. We understand the underlying engine. It's built by adding up squared standard normal variables. And because of those squares, it is absolutely always greater than or equal to 0. It naturally skews to the right, but if you push past 90 degrees of freedom, it magically starts approximating a normal distribution. So the absolutely crucial point I want you to take away from this explainer is simply this. Master the degrees of freedom and you master the entire curve. It dictates the mean, the standard deviation, and the literal physical shape of the distribution you're working with. Now that you understand the foundational rules of the chi-square universe, you are perfectly prepped to actually apply it. In our next explainer, we're going to put all this theory into practice by tackling the goodness of fit test and the test of independence. You definitely won't want to miss that because that is exactly where we connect this cool